5 ways to handle people who don't respect you. Respect is not something you beg for. It's something you decide you will have. The instant you allow someone to speak to you in a way that's beneath you, you've given them permission to do it again. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. You're not just dealing with a moment of disrespect. You're training them on how to treat you moving forward. And if you want that to change, it starts with you drawing the line. The first thing you must learn to do is call it out when it happens. Don't let the comments slide. Don't laugh it off to keep the peace. And you don't need to raise your voice to make your point. When someone crosses that line, whether it's in a meeting, in front of your team, or even in a personal conversation, hold your ground. Make direct eye contact and say, "That's not okay," or "I don't appreciate that remark." Keep your tone steady, calm but firm. Because when you address disrespect in the moment, you show that you're in control of yourself and the situation. You make it clear you will not let it pass without acknowledgement. Next, you need to set boundaries and actually enforce them. A boundary is not about shutting people out. It's about defining what's acceptable and what's not. If someone keeps interrupting you when you speak, tell them once that you expect to be heard. If they do it again, you stop engaging until they respect your turn. Boundaries are not suggestions. They're conditions for access to you. And if you set them but never follow through, you're sending a message that your rules are flexible, and people will test that flexibility every time. Then there's the power of silence. This is one most people underestimate. Not every jab deserves a comeback. Sometimes the strongest move you can make is no move at all. You take away the one thing they want, your reaction. I've been in situations where someone throws an insult, expecting to get under my skin, and I simply stare back, unbothered. That silence puts the discomfort right back on them. It communicates, "You are not worth my energy." It's not weakness, it's control. It's choosing not to play a game you didn't agree to play. Another essential strategy is to limit their access to you. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, you don't have to keep giving them opportunities to do it again. This could mean reducing your time around them, keeping conversations short, or setting physical and emotional distance. You can't control what they say or do, but you can absolutely control how much space they take up in your life. Think of it like guarding your front door. You decide who gets in and who doesn't. You must lead by example. The way you carry yourself tells people how to treat you before you ever say a word. Walk into the room with confidence. Speak clearly. Keep your word. Treat others with fairness, even when they don't return it. Because when you operate from a place of consistent self-respect, you create an unspoken standard. People either step up to meet it or they fall away. Both outcomes work in your favor. The truth is, respect starts with you, how you speak about yourself, how you allow others to speak to you, and how you handle those who cross the line. Respect is never something you wait around for. It's something you establish from the very beginning. The moment you allow someone to get away with speaking to you in a condescending tone, ignoring your presence, or belittling your contributions, you've sent them a silent message. This is acceptable. And here's the reality. People will treat you the way you train them to. If you want respect, you have to make it clear that it is the baseline requirement for interacting with you. The first step is to address the behavior when it happens. Letting it slide doesn't make you gracious. It makes you an easy target. That doesn't mean yelling, losing your cool, or matching their attitude. It means standing your ground with a calm, steady voice. Whether you're in a boardroom, at a family dinner, or having a casual conversation, if someone crosses that line, stop the moment in its tracks. Look them in the eye and make it clear. That's not acceptable. That small act tells them you notice, you care, and you won't be silent about it. The next thing is understanding that boundaries are not just nice ideas. They are rules of engagement. Think of them as a code people must follow to stay in your space. If someone talks over you repeatedly, you call it out once. If they do it again, you disengage. You don't reward bad behavior with more of your attention. Boundaries only work if you enforce them, and when you do, you protect your time, your energy, and your peace. Sometimes, the most powerful response is no response at all. Not every insult, dig, or provocation needs to be met with words. Silence can be your strongest weapon because it denies them what they're fishing for. Your emotional reaction. I've been in situations where silence shifted the entire dynamic, where the lack of reaction made the other person realize they had no power over me. That's real control. And then, you have to take a hard look at who you allow near you. If someone constantly disrespects you, they don't deserve unlimited access to your life. Limit the conversations, shorten the encounters, create distance. You can't stop someone from being who they are, but you can decide how close they get to you. Always carry yourself in a way that shows you value yourself. Speak with confidence, act with integrity, and treat others with the respect you demand in return. People learn from how you show up, and your example will set the tone long before your words ever do. Respect is not given by chance. It's commanded by the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, and the way you respond when someone tests you. The truth is, every time someone disrespects you, they're not just crossing a line, they're measuring you. They want to see how far they can push before you push back. And if you let it slide, you've just told them the boundaries are wide open. You've shown them that they can treat you however they want without consequence. That's why the very first thing you have to master is handling these moments the second they happen. When someone says something out of line, you do not let it pass. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to get emotional, but you do have to stand your ground. You meet their eyes, keep your tone controlled, and make it clear that the behavior is not acceptable. A simple, "that's not okay," or "I'm not going to allow that," is enough. You don't owe them a long explanation or justification. Your job is not to convince them why they should respect you. Your job is to make it clear that disrespect has a cost, and that cost is losing the privilege of treating you however they want. Then you have boundaries. Boundaries are not soft suggestions. They are conditions for being in your space. They say, "This is what's acceptable here. Cross it and you're out." But here's the mistake most people make. They set a boundary, then let it be broken without consequence. That's like putting up a fence and leaving the gate wide open. If someone interrupts you when you're speaking, you tell them once, firmly, to let you finish. If they keep doing it, you end the conversation or refuse to engage until they learn to listen. You have to follow through every single time, or your words mean nothing. And then there's the silence. People underestimate the power of not reacting. They think silence is weakness, when it's actually a sign of control. Sometimes, the smartest thing you can do when someone tries to provoke you is nothing. No reaction, no defense, no visible frustration. You let their words hang in the air and lose all their weight. When you don't give someone the reaction they're fishing for, they start to realize they have no power over you. That's when the balance shifts. Another move that's often overlooked is limiting access. Not everyone should have direct, constant access to you. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, you don't have to keep giving them chances to do it again. That could mean reducing how often you speak to them, keeping interactions short and professional, or not letting them into certain parts of your life at all. You can't control their behavior, but you have complete control over how close they get to you. And when you start protecting your space like that, you send a message. This is a privilege, not a right. And finally, you have to be the walking example of the respect you expect. People are watching you all the time, whether you realize it or not. If you carry yourself with confidence, speak clearly, follow through on your word, and treat others fairly, you set an unspoken standard. Those who want to be in your circle will rise to meet it. Those who can't or won't will drift away, and that's exactly what you want. Because the way you live, the way you speak, and the way you hold yourself in every situation teaches people more than your words ever could. Respect is not something you hope for. It's something you enforce through your actions, your words, and the way you allow people to engage with you. The reality is, every time you accept disrespect, you're signaling to the other person that it's okay to continue. And people will keep pushing as far as you let them. This is why you can't afford to ignore it or pretend it doesn't matter. The standard you set is the standard that will be followed, so you need to make sure that standard is crystal clear from the very beginning. When someone crosses the line, you need to address it in real time. You don't let it slide until later. You don't wait for the right moment to speak up. The right moment is when it happens. And you don't need to match their energy or sink to their level to make your point. Keep your composure, control your tone, and make it clear that their behavior is unacceptable. Look them in the eye and say, "That's not going to work with me," or "We're not doing that here." These are short, powerful statements that leave no room for misinterpretation. You're not asking them to respect you, you're telling them where the line is. Boundaries are the next part of this equation, and they are non-negotiable. Think of boundaries as the terms and conditions for being in your life. You decide them, you communicate them, and you enforce them. If someone talks over you, makes sarcastic digs, or dismisses your input, you let them know once that it's not acceptable. If they keep doing it, you change the way you interact with them. Maybe you limit conversations, maybe you don't include them in certain discussions, maybe you keep it strictly professional. The point is, you must pair every boundary with action. Without follow-through, a boundary is just empty talk, and people will test empty talk every single time. Then there's the power of silence, a tool that can shut down more disrespect than any argument ever could. Not every insult deserves your energy. In fact, sometimes reacting is exactly what they want, because it validates their attempt to get under your skin. But when you stay calm, unshaken, and say nothing, you take away their power. You shift the discomfort back onto them. You're telling them without words, "You are irrelevant to my sense of self." And that is a position of real strength. You also have to be intentional about access. Not everyone gets the same level of proximity to you, and those who repeatedly disrespect you should be moved further out of your inner circle. That could mean spending less time around them, keeping your interactions short, or creating physical and emotional distance. You can't control what they do or say, but you have total control over how much space they get in your life. When you protect that space, you protect your peace, your focus, and your energy. And above all, you must lead with the kind of self-respect you want mirrored back to you. Your presence, your tone, your actions, they all speak before you ever say a word. Walk into a room with purpose, speak with clarity, follow through on what you say, and treat others with fairness. When you hold yourself to a high standard consistently, the people around you will either rise to meet it or remove themselves entirely, and either outcome works in your favor. Respect is never something you sit back and wait to receive. It's something you define, protect, and reinforce every single day. The second you allow someone to speak down to you, dismiss your input, or mock you without consequence, you've already given them the blueprint for how to treat you in the future. And make no mistake, they will use that blueprint again and again if you let them. This is why your response in those moments matters. It's not about overreacting or creating a scene. It's about setting an unshakable standard that tells people exactly where the line is and what happens when they cross it. When someone crosses that line, you deal with it directly. You don't laugh it off to avoid tension. You don't swallow it to keep the peace. The moment disrespect happens is the moment you take control. Look the person in the eye, keep your tone steady, and say exactly what needs to be said. "That's not going to work," or "I'm not okay with that." Short, decisive statements hit harder than long explanations. They leave no space for misunderstanding, and they carry authority because they're delivered with composure. Remember, you're not asking for respect. You're making it clear that it's the price of admission for interacting with you. From there, boundaries become your armor. A boundary is not a request. It's a condition. It says, "This is what's acceptable in my world, and this is what's not." But a boundary without follow-through is just noise. If someone constantly interrupts you, you correct them once. If it happens again, you change the way you engage. Maybe you stop including them in certain conversations. Maybe you remove their voice from the decision-making table. The point is, every broken boundary must have a consequence. That's how people learn that you're serious about protecting your space. Then there's silence, a weapon far more powerful than most people realize. Disrespect often thrives on reaction. It's bait designed to pull you into a confrontation or emotional outburst. But when you don't take that bait, when you remain calm, still, and unshaken, you send a louder message than any words could. You show that their opinion, their provocation, has no control over your emotional state. That silence makes them sit in their own discomfort. It strips their words of power and flips the dynamic entirely. You're no longer on the defensive, they are. You also need to be intentional about who gets access to you. Your time, your attention, your presence, those are privileges, not entitlements. If someone repeatedly shows you they can't treat you with basic respect, you adjust their level of access. That might mean shorter conversations, fewer interactions, or removing them from certain parts of your life altogether. You can't rewrite someone's character, but you can absolutely control how close they're allowed to stand to you. And through it all, you must carry yourself with the same respect you demand from others. The way you move, the way you speak, the way you keep your word, these are constant signals of your own self-worth. When you embody respect, you don't have to beg for it. People either rise to meet your standard or they remove themselves entirely, and both outcomes protect your dignity. Respect is not a favor someone hands you when they feel like it. It's a condition you decide on and uphold. The moment you let someone dismiss your voice, make a cutting remark, or undermine you without addressing it, you've told them, without saying a word, that it's acceptable. And here's the truth. People remember what you let them get away with. They will push, they will test, and if you don't set the standard, they will set it for you. And it won't be in your favor. This is why dealing with disrespect isn't optional. It's essential. It's about establishing a non-negotiable baseline for how you will be treated, no matter who you're dealing with. When that line gets crossed, you address it immediately. You don't sweep it under the rug to keep things smooth. You don't laugh it off to avoid tension. Because when you do that, you're not keeping the peace. You're keeping yourself small. And that's not an option if you value yourself. You don't have to yell. You don't have to match their tone. But you do have to be direct. Look them in the eye, hold your ground, and state it simply. That's not okay, or we're not doing that here. The power is in the calm delivery. It shows you are in control, not them. These short, clear statements carry more weight than long justifications because they leave no space for argument. They make it clear that respect is a requirement, not a request. Then comes the armor, boundaries. Boundaries are not about shutting people out for no reason. They are about protecting the space you need to operate with dignity. They're the rules of engagement for being in your life. But a boundary that's never enforced is useless. If you tell someone, I need you to let me finish when I speak, and they ignore it, then you change the way you interact with them. That could mean ending the conversation the moment it happens again, or not involving them in discussions where their behavior gets in the way. Every broken boundary should carry a consequence. This is how people learn that your limits are not suggestions, they are conditions. And one of the most underestimated tools in this process is silence. There's a false belief that you have to respond to every jab, every insult, every attempt to provoke you. But sometimes, the smartest and most powerful response is no response at all. When you refuse to react, you strip away the fuel that keeps their behavior going. You deny them the satisfaction of knowing they got to you. You stand there steady, unbothered, and that quiet strength shifts the balance instantly. Your silence speaks volumes. You're not worth my energy. It's not about being passive, it's about being strategic. But perhaps one of the most important steps you can take is controlling access. Not everyone has earned the right to be close to you. If someone consistently shows you they can't treat you with basic respect, you do not owe them unlimited time, attention, or emotional space. You pull back, you limit the conversations, you cut the unnecessary contact, you create physical and emotional distance. This isn't about holding grudges, it's about protecting your mental and emotional well-being. You cannot control someone's character, but you have full control over how much space they get in your life. And when you control that space, you control the impact they have on you. Finally, the most powerful way to demand respect is to embody it yourself. People are always watching, even when you think they're not. The way you enter a room, the way you carry yourself, the way you follow through on your word, these are signals that tell others exactly how to treat you. If you treat yourself like an afterthought, they will too. But when you speak with purpose, move with confidence, and treat others fairly, you create an unspoken standard. Those who want to be in your world will rise to meet it. Those who can't will fade away. And in both cases, you win because you've kept your self-respect intact. Respect is not something you cross your fingers for. It's something you make clear through your presence, your actions, and the way you respond the moment someone tests you. Every single time you allow someone to diminish you, talk over you, or treat you like your voice doesn't matter, you send a silent signal that they can keep doing it. People remember what you tolerate, and they will repeat it if you don't set a firm standard. That's why dealing with disrespect is not about reacting with anger, it's about responding with certainty. It's about showing that there is a clear line, and that line will be defended every time. When someone crosses it, you don't sit back and let it slide for the sake of avoiding awkwardness. You don't try to laugh it off to keep the peace, because that's not peace. It's quiet surrender. And the more you surrender, the smaller you become in their eyes. You meet that moment head on. You keep your voice steady, your posture strong, and you look them in the eye when you say, "That's not acceptable," or "That's not going to work with me." You don't argue, you don't explain yourself, because the point isn't to convince them. You're not asking for permission to be respected. You're setting the rule. Then you protect yourself with boundaries. Boundaries are not about being difficult. They're about being clear. They say, "Here's what's okay. Here's what's not. Cross this," and something changes. But the mistake too many people make is setting a boundary and then letting it get trampled with no consequence. That teaches the other person that your limits are flexible, and the moment they think they can bend them, they will. If someone repeatedly interrupts you, you call it out once. If it happens again, you disengage. You stop giving them the space to take from you. A boundary without action is just a wish, and wishes don't protect you. Sometimes the strongest stance you can take is silence. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. It's a deliberate choice not to play a game you never agreed to. When someone tries to provoke you, when they throw a comment your way just to get a rise out of you, and you give them nothing, not even a shift in your expression, you've taken the power away from them completely. They expect you to defend yourself, to fight back, to react. But when you don't, they're left standing in the emptiness of their own words. That's when they realize they're not in control. You are. Another step that changes everything is limiting their access to you. Not everyone gets to have your time, your energy, or your attention. Those are privileges, not entitlements. If someone shows you over and over again that they can't treat you with basic respect, you create distance. You reduce the conversations, you cut out unnecessary contact, you keep them at arm's length emotionally and physically. You can't change their character, but you can decide how much of your world they're allowed to occupy. And when you start protecting that space, you protect yourself. And the final piece, your example. The way you treat yourself teaches people how to treat you. If you walk into a room with your shoulders back, your voice clear, and your word kept, people notice. If you show up consistently, honor your commitments, and refuse to compromise your principles, they notice that too. When you demonstrate self-respect through your actions, you don't need to ask for it. You become the standard. Those who want to be in your life will step up to meet it. Those who don't will step away. And both are exactly the outcome you need. You teach people how to treat you, whether you realize it or not. Every time you respond to someone, every time you allow or disallow certain behavior, you're writing the rule book for how they interact with you. The moment you let disrespect pass without response, you've told them it's okay. And the moment you stand firm, calmly, and confidently, you've told them it's not. That's the thing. Respect doesn't start with them. It starts with you. You cannot control what someone else says or does. You can't make them like you can't make them value you, and you can't make them behave. But you can decide what you will and will not allow in your life. You can decide who gets to be close to you and who doesn't. And that's where your real power lives, not in changing them, but in controlling yourself, your reactions, and your boundaries. There will always be people who test you. Sometimes it's subtle, a small joke at your expense, a dismissive tone, a look that says they think you don't matter. Other times it's bold and in your face. Someone cutting you down in front of others, someone undermining you at work, someone treating you like you're less than. But no matter how it shows up, your job is the same. Decide in that moment whether you will let it define you or whether you will define yourself. Respect is not loud. It's not about proving yourself to everyone. It's not about demanding recognition with your words. It's about living in a way where people know instinctively they can't treat you any other way. It's in the way you walk into a room, the way you sit at the table, the way you say no without explaining, the way you carry silence like a weapon instead of scrambling for approval. It's not about arrogance, it's about certainty. And that certainty has to be trained. You build it by showing up for yourself every single day, by keeping your promises to yourself, by holding yourself to the same standards you expect from others. You don't gossip because you don't tolerate it. You don't tear people down because you don't accept it. You don't let people cross lines with you because you never cross lines with them. That's the kind of consistency that makes people think twice before they try you. You have to stop worrying about being liked by everyone. Being liked is not the same as being respected. In fact, the more you stand for something, the more you draw your lines, the more you will make some people uncomfortable. And that's okay. Discomfort is often the first sign that someone realizes they can't treat you the way they treat everyone else. You are not here to make everyone comfortable. You are here to live in a way that protects your dignity, your values, and your peace. And sometimes that means walking away. Sometimes it means letting someone go, even if you've known them for years, even if they're family, even if they hold a position of power. Walking away is not weakness. Walking away is clarity. It's you saying, I see who you are, I see how you treat me, and I refuse to make space for it in my life. That's strength. So here's the truth. You are the standard. You are the line. You are the example. The way you speak, the way you stand, the way you enforce your boundaries. That's the message you send to the world. And the world will always answer to the message you send. If you want respect to be the only language spoken in your life, you have to make it the only language you understand. You have to make it the only language you respond to. And once you do that, once you truly embody it, you will find that the right people will respect it, and the wrong people will remove themselves.